It's the CHGO Blackhawks Eras Tour today. We're going to talk about the best and worst eras in Blackhawks history. We've got a blank space with your name on it. And I'm the problem. It's me. And such. Join us next on
22.
CHGO Blackhawks. Happy Thursday. Welcome into the CHGO Blackhawks podcast. I'm Jay Zawoski. That's Mario Tirabassi. Joey's here running the show for us today. We are going to have some fun today, I think.
How dare we?
We're doing the Blackhawks Eras Tour.
Forgot to start
and
the countdown.
no one has ever called anything the Eras Tour before, as far as I'm aware. Because
I think
would never
infringe on someone else's idea.
Never. Just like Mailbag Monday, we would also never just put stuff out there to optimize search engines so our stuff gets seen. We would never do that.
Never.
That would be dishonest
That's
and unfair.
That's beneath us.
And BJD, I don't love the accusation that we're hitting the algorithm aggregations.
No.
How dare you, sir? We invented this.
This is a very organic topic and
Yes.
conversation that Jay and I thought would be a great one to have today.
We actually, back like the last day of the Hawks season, we said, what day should we do the Eras Tour show?
Yeah.
And Mario said August 14th. It just so happened that yesterday, what's her name? Taylor Swift?
Trevor Swaft?
Did some
Tori
podcast.
Swaft.
Some other sports podcast with bearded fellas on it.
Yeah.
We had no idea. But it just worked out.
It's, sometimes the universe just works out that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're going to have some fun talking about the history of the Blackhawks and where the team is now, which were the best eras, who are the best players. Also, an interesting question posed online today of who's had a better career, Patrick Kane or... We'll talk about it later in the show. So, Mario.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
And we can ask our friends at home, too.
Play along at home.
Where I have the winning percentages by decade
Okay.
for the Blackhawks. Where do the 2020s Blackhawks rank in terms of the worst in franchise history, in terms of winning percentage? Yes.
Okay. Well, they haven't had a winning season
Correct.
in the 2020s, so it's low. Is it? It's not worst. It can't.
It is not worst.
It can't. Yeah, because I feel like weren't the 30s and 40s abysmal? Like I know they won 2 cups.
They won 2 cups in the 30s.
In the 30s, but is it like the 1934 Cup is like weren't they like out of the original 6 last? But every team played in the playoffs or something like that.
In the 30s, they had a .478 winning percentage. In the 40s, a .439 winning percentage.
Okay, I'm gonna say the 40s are the worst.
The worst are the 20s. They had a .303 winning percentage.
That's pretty bad.
The 2000s?
The 1920s?
The 1920s,
Okay,
yes.
good. Just want to make sure, because
And
there's now
this-
2 20s.
This is a trend because the 2020s are second worst with a .404 winning percentage.
Oh, well, that's 101 better. 0.101.
Yes, that's 10% better.
That's how math works, I think.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So we are in the second worst era
Okay.
of Blackhawks hockey.
So every 100 years, it's just cyclical.
Yeah.
1920s bad, 2020s bad.
So if we're going by this,
1930s,
they're going to be
cups.
great in the 2060s.
Yeah, that's fine.
I can hold out.
Yeah.
I'll be 90.
I can't wait.
I'm good.
I can't wait for the 3010s for those 3 cups in 6 years.
I think it's interesting though that you mentioned they win 2 cups in the 30s with a sub 500 record, one of the worst winning percentages in franchise history. But like
only
you said,
5 other teams to compete with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So someone has to have a bad record, but you make the playoffs and anything can happen. But I went and looked at some of the great players from those eras, and there's the 30s and 20s. You've got Charlie Gardner, who we've talked about before,
Historically,
who was honestly next year when I have the Hall of Fame vote, I think he's going to get mine for the Heritage era because this is a guy whose story is so fascinating. Died at 29. Ooh, the Aaron Waters show's here.
I always have to remind myself.
It's like
every year I'm like, no, it's not war. It's the Aaron Waters show. It's fine. Charlie Gardner. It's one of those stories that when you have a team like the Blackhawks that has such a long storied history, 100 years celebration this upcoming season, there's just so many things that can fall between the cracks that you don't want to kind of like lose the history, and you want to be able to tell the stories. And I think that's something that when we talked with Jamie Faulkner, she kind of mentioned about like what do you want to tell? How do you want to tell those things, and how do you represent that through the theme nights they're doing, through different activations within either the atrium or in games, or how do you put it into the living Hall of Fame that's going to be put up in the Fifth Third Arena? Like, how do you go about that? And I think Charlie Gardner is one of those ones that you don't want to just kind of like fall back because of everything that's come after it, because it's one of those it's the 30s with all sports really, but hockey specifically, just there's so many like little gems and nuggets of like great stories that just blow your mind, and Gardner's one of them.
So he was the goalie for the 1934 Blackhawks. They entered the playoffs with low expectations. 2017-11 was the record that year. In 48 games, the Hawks scored 88 goals.
It's not good.
However, with Charlie Gardner in net, they only allowed 83 goals.
That's better.
So they win the Cup in 1934.
And that's back when goalies played like every game.
Yes.
With no mask.
Gardner had 5 shutouts in those Stanley Cup playoffs.
It's pretty good.
But during the playoffs, he started acting strangely. And everyone was kind of worried about, like, maybe he's just nervous. It's a lot of pressure. Stanley Cup playoffs, etc. Goes home after they win the Cup. Falls into a coma. Brain tumor. 2 months after winning the Cup, he's gone. Charlie Gardner passes away from a brain tumor. He was 29 years old.
Crazy, yeah. I mean, and you're going through, Stanley Cup playoffs, and at the time it's a lot different than it is now, but like, professional hockey, that's their championship run.
Yeah.
And he goes through it and leads them to the Stanley Cup, and then it's over. It's just wild.
The season stats for
and
his last year.
He was captain, wasn't he?
Yep.
Yeah.
1933-34 season, 48 games, 20 wins, 10 shutouts, a 163 goals against.
Oof.
I mean, that's insane.
Pretty
and
good.
then in those playoffs, in 8 games, he was 6-1-1 with a 133 goals against. Just unbelievable.
That's how you.
And it's a guy who you feel like just because of the passage of time, you're not going to hear about as a Hawks fan. So, as we talked about before, like you said, this is something that I really think when they do have a physical Hall of Fame, that the organization can do a good job of reminding people, hey, there are some very cool stories from long ago with this organization, and Charlie Gardner, to me, is, if I could tell one guy's story from that era, it's his. And not just because he tragically passes, because he was so damn good. Hockey Hall of Famer, captain as a goalie, just a fascinating story.
Yeah, I mean, when you are one of the biggest parts, if not the biggest part, to the first Stanley Cup that the Blackhawks ever won, I mean, that's, of course, that has a place in history. I think it'll be interesting to see how the Hall of Fame, Blackhawks Hall of Fame, gets put together and what artifacts they bring out. I'd be surprised if there was no, preserved Charlie Gardner stick or, pads or a jersey or something in the the Blackhawks archives of just history that they have somewhere. Like, I think that would be really cool to see displayed, and just kind of, I always love seeing the old equipment from the 40s and 50s and stuff, and how it to think like, okay, here's this like literal piece of like a 2x4 that they used as sticks now compared to, something that even I would use now for just playing in a rec league. It's like such a different quality, and it's just crazy.
I mean, I've got my Bauer from 1994 in here, and I showed it to Alex Vlasic, and he laughed at it.
Yeah, right.
Like, what? Hey, I scored some goals in the Lewis University Rec Center. Come on, man. I had a decent wrist shot.
Yeah.
Jeez. It worked out fine for me. Cool. The other big name from that era is Mush March, who played from 1928
It's a great name.
to 1945, all with the Blackhawks, 761 games. Obviously won the Cups in 34 and 38. Another legend. I feel like that's a name that more Hawks fans know. He did score the game-winning goal in the second overtime at Game 4 of the 34 Cup final, and the Hawks won that series 3-1. So there's a Stanley Cup final moment for Charlie Gardner, or for Mush March. Little guy, 5'5".
It's like Lane Hudson.
Oh, the head fakes that Mush March had, my friend.
Well, people were smaller back then.
5'5", 154.
That's like me when I was like a sophomore in high school. And
154 pounds.
Not even I
like
wasn't even 154 pounds. I was like 115. Yeah, I mean that's one of those names. Again, it's like those names that you hear about, you kind of know on the periphery, especially like for me. I can speak to, when I got into the Blackhawks and everything, it was 1999 into 2000. And, they really didn't have anybody that was like big grabbing the attention of the current fans, because Roenick was gone, Chelios was gone, Belfour was gone, Savard was gone. You were talking about Bobby Hall and Stan Mikita and Tony Esposito. Like, those were the big historical figures. And then as I got a little bit older, then it was the ABC line came through, and then it went away. Alex Zamenhof came through and then went away. And then it was Taze Kane and the big boom and everything. But then, over the years, you kind of learn more about, Blackhawks history. Let me look at some books. The internet was completely different than it is now as far as like finding out information. Like, you'd literally have to physically go to the library and look for like a history of hockey book, and like, but then you would learn about, these guys back in the 30s and 40s, and my dad would tell me stories about like Keith Magnuson and stuff. Like, it's just interesting how now technology and the access of information is completely different than it even was 20, 30 years ago. But how those stories get told. And Marsh is another one that's just like, think of a guy that played 17 years of professional hockey back in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, when they weren't making, the inflation equivalent or whatever that they make now. They were making a couple $1,000s, which in the 20s and 30s you don't shake a stick at. But like,
right.
You made $10,000 back in the 20s. It's like, that'd be like making like $500,000 now. Don't quote me on that math. I think it might be close, right. But it wasn't like they had other jobs. Like, Gordie Howe and Bobby Hull, like, they would go and like work on their family's farms in the off season. They weren't just hockey players 24/7. So for a guy to do that for 17 years with the equipment that they had, and like probably not going through a rigorous training schedule like they do now, and doing yoga and keeping his body right, like, that's just a different breed of athlete back in that time.
All right, we're going to keep going with the Blackhawks Eras Tour. Do us a favor, if you've not done it already, hit that like button 13 times. Right? Is that a Taylor Swift number, 13? That's a thing?
13, 22, 1988.
Yeah, hit it 1989 times.
Yeah, I don't know.
That'd be great.
1989.
We need Katie in here, our Taylor Swift historian.
We need our fact checker.
She was very excited to make the thumbnail for today's show.
Yes,
she's not working.
She did a great job. It's a great thumbnail.
Katie insisted as the biggest Swiftie here, so we appreciate that. All right, back in 2 minutes. Hit that like button for us on CHGO Blackhawks. What is Sunnyside? You should know by now that Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary, that's your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping. If you're new, if you're a vet, they've got you covered. Sunnyside has everything you need to elevate your summer. Sunnyside is your one-stop shop for all your cannabis needs, and they have an expertly curated menu with over 100 strains to choose from, easy online ordering, and in-store pickup. We know you're going to love Cresco and FloraCal's incredible quality and consistent products. Check out my two favorite brands, The Good News and Mindy's. Visit sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter that promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary, bright buys every day, only for 21 plus or Illinois medical card holders. And if you're an existing customer, you're going to want to use the code CHGO50 for 50% off one Cresco Labs brand item.
Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake is slashing prices on new cars and giving you big savings all month long. Come in today to shop the new car clearance event and check out their selection of over 125 vehicles priced under $20,000. With one of Chicagoland's largest Chevy inventories, you're sure to find the perfect vehicle for you. And as one of the top-selling Chevy dealers in the Midwest, they're able to keep their prices competitive, so you know you'll get a great deal. Plus, with Ray's Price Promise, that lets you shop confidently because the price you see is the price you pay. Visit our partner today at their convenient location right on Route 12 in Fox Lake. And don't miss out on their new car clearance event going on all month long where they've slashed prices on new cars. Slash. Shop Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake or at raychevrolet.com. They've been serving the community since 1963. Together, let's drive.
So much slashing.
Slash.
All right, I misspoke. I looked at my graph wrong. The 2020s Blackhawks are the third worst.
Put some more respect.
Third worst era.
On Kirby Doc and Adam Boquist.
So the 1920s, 303. The 1950s, 355. And then 404 for the 2020s. And our buddy Windy City Hockey points out Bill Mosienko is a guy who deserves some attention. A big part of the 40s era. Mosienko played from 41 until 55, 711 games as a Hawk, 540 points, and as Windy City Hockey points out, the fastest hat trick in NHL history, 3 goals in 21 seconds. That is crazy.
That's nuts. To even try and replicate that like in a video game.
No.
Would be...
that'd be like the challenge to like score 3 goals in 21 seconds to unlock a 99 overall Yager. No. It'll take me a year to do that.
Yeah. That's insane.
I mean, it does sort of demonstrate how bad the goalies must have been, because I'd imagine 2 of those were just slap shots from right inside the line.
Could have been. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 goal.
Yeah, a goal every 7 seconds of play, including a face-off, which sometimes is not clean and
right.
That's wild.
That's unreal. Well, you mentioned the 2000s as the era when you got into hockey. That's a 482 winning percentage for the Hawks.
Unfortunate time to get into hockey.
I do want to correct. There's some conversation going on about the ABC line: Tyler Arneson, Mark Bell, Kyle Calder, and how the team was trying to make it happen, make it a thing. They were the 3 best forwards on the Blackhawks.
Yeah, they were. They were a thing.
I talk about this all the time. The Kyle Calder theory. Someone has to score. You're a team on the ice. You're not going to get shut out 82 times, so someone has to score. It was those guys for that team.
Yeah.
Arneson had a work ethic problem. Mark Bell had a
off-ice problem.
He liked things that He liked the nightlife
that took his attention away from hockey.
Yes.
Yeah. That's a soft way of putting it.
Yes, he did. But a good player. I had a Mark Bell jersey. Kyle Calder was a gritty, on the cup champion Blackhawks third line. Probably all 3 of those guys.
Could have been, yeah.
That would have made a hell of a third line in that time. But because the Hawks were so bad, those guys were front and center, and there was a little bit of hope around those guys because, hey, look, like Kyle Calder's a 50-point guy, and Mark Bell's this big power forward in an era of power forwards, and he did have some good years. Also, if we ever talk to Jeremy Roenick, I want you to remind me to ask him this.
Okay.
When he came in with Philly, I believe,
yeah,
him and Mark Bell fought
Really?
And Mark Bell whipped his ass.
Ooh.
I think that Roenick was helping Mark Bell get over. I think it was like a wrestling. Not that like Roenick, not that Mark Bell couldn't beat up Jeremy Roenick. Sure. It could happen. He was a big dude. But
he was doing him a solid to
I feel like he was trying to get Mark Bell over the hump with Hawks fans.
Okay.
And for the 5,000 people that were there that night, because it sure as hell wasn't on TV, it worked.
Joey, I sent you something in Slack in honor of the ABC line. Yeah, I mean, there is that on Hockey Fights?
I would imagine.
Let's see if we can pull that up. Not to completely.
Can we show it?
Let me look for Mark Bell.
February 25th, 2003. There is no video.
No.
Unfortunately. Here's how Hockey Fights describes it. Roenick drills Bell in the corner. Bell takes exception and wants to go. Roenick doesn't really want to go, but doesn't back down. Bell drops the gloves, then shrugs to Roenick and gives you the "are you going to drop him" look. Roenick drops him, and it's a pretty entertaining fight. Not much landing, but a wild exchange. Bell rips Roenick's helmet off, and it appears to cut Roenick. Roenick may have landed a wild one, and Bell lands two good rights. One an uppercut and one straight right. Roenick grabs onto Bell's leg and tries to take him down. Bell and Roenick are both smiling afterwards.
I did not know Hockey Fights gave you a plot synopsis.
Well, yeah, because I usually just go right to the video.
I just watch it. Yeah, that's cool.
I like the historical documentation of the fight.
Yeah,
though. But Mark
Bell trying to get the emotion out of it. Yeah,
in 2005, 2006, Mark Bell in 82 games had 25 goals, 23 assists for 48 points and 107 penalty minutes.
He was a good player if he had applied himself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then things started falling apart for him. But I hope he's doing well now. If you ever see me off the air, ask me my Mark Bell story, and I will share it with you.
Okay, I will once we go off the air.
I think
you know who would love to hear that Mark Bell story? This kid.
Nice.
That is my 9th birthday in my first ever Blackhawks jersey. So that is January of 1999. An unfortunate time to decide the Blackhawks or your team, but just wait about 9 years. Young 9-year-old Mario, you'll be happy.
You'll be rewarded.
Yeah.
Look, man, part of being a fan is suffering.
Oh, sure.
To just jump in and out of the game when things are going well, that doesn't help you. That doesn't make winning feel good.
Specifically a Chicago sports fan. I mean, go across town. If you don't have some pain or some trauma in your life, you're doing it wrong as a Chicago sports fan.
Chicago sports fans are the best because we appreciate when the success is there, because it can be so few and far between. 108 years of no World Series titles for the Cubs. How long was it for the White Sox? Almost 100?
88
years, yeah.
49 years between cups.
40th anniversary
for
the Chicago Bears, by the way, coming up this year,
Bears
everybody.
Have
Celebrate.
One Super Bowl. There's not many people who are still alive for their NFL championships. The Bulls had a tremendous run, but what have they done since? Nothing.
Jordan curse.
Nothing.
So I think you look at Chicago sports fans and you look at people who are the diehards of those teams. They're better than any other city, any other diehard that I think you can match them up with. You know who's the worst? Someone my age who was a Boston sports fan. Worst fan ever.
Yeah, you didn't have
You've
to suffer
been
at
spoiled.
all.
You've never suffered. You had the Bruins, the Celtics, Tom Brady, and you had the Red Sox for a long time.
Yeah.
A lot of titles.
Well, I mean,
Screw off,
it's like
Boston.
my daughter is born in 2010, and like the Hawks win 3 cups, the Cubs win a World Series. I'm like, you've had no suffering in your sports life at all.
Now it's coming around.
You've seen as many championships as I have, aside from the Bears and Bulls. Come on.
Yeah.
All right, so the 90s, the 2000s, a 482 winning percentage. When I got into hockey, the 90s,
yes.
539. So that was a decent era. So the best era of Hawks hockey, the 2010s, obviously, a 616 winning percentage. The 70s, 567. The 60s, 558. And then you get into the 90s, 539. I mean, we don't need it. We do this all the time. Roenick, Chelios, Belfour, Tony Amani, Steve Larmer was still around for part of it. Even like Gary Suter. Joe Murphy was one of my favorites. He told me to F off at a Who concert.
Oh, nice.
I'll tell that one on the air. I'm like, hey, it's Joe Murphy. He's like, hey, go F yourself. I'm like, I just recognized you, Joe Murphy.
Just did not want to be recognized.
It's the 1990s, and I recognize the Blackhawk in public. I should just be given a jersey for that. Like, seriously. But yeah, it was like, that was, to me, and I think for a lot of people, the 90s were not just the era they got into the Hawks, but I think, to me, that was kind of the golden age of modern hockey, because you had Gretzky, you had Lemieux, you had, honestly, even if you're not a video game player, the emergence of the EA game series
NHL
that was
94
such a game, like it was a gateway drug for people.
Hockey was in the mainstream.
Yeah,
and it was part of the pop culture, and I think that I think the NHL 94 video game, the mention of that in the Swingers movie, I think was an iconic part of it. It's the guy, what's his name? Jay and Silent Bob.
Kevin Smith.
Kevin Smith's a huge hockey fan. He was big in the he always made hockey, prevalent in the 90s. The Hawks were, that era were culturally relevant, and I always think back. Now, obviously, I didn't experience it in real time. I was alive for it, but I didn't experience it in real time. But I always think back, like, I'll go back and watch, like, early Seinfeld, right? And they're in New York with the Rangers in the 90s, which won a Stanley Cup. And there's an episode, I can't remember which episode, but there's a scene where George and Jerry are talking about something. Like, it's like a wager or something, and they're like, oh, would you bet? And Jerry says to George, would you bet your Blackhawks jacket? He goes, no, I would never bet my Blackhawks jacket. I love my Blackhawks jacket. And I'm like, whoa, like, okay, in Seinfeld, this major TV show in New York, they're talking about the Blackhawks. Like, it's one of those things that, hockey was in that realm of, like, what was cool, what was mainstream.
Well, I think also those 90s Hawks, they were rock stars, man. And remember, they're playing parallel to the Jordan Bulls. Mm-hmm. And I think some of that mystique, like, rubbed off on those guys a little bit. They're in the same building. They're hanging out. They're seeing each other all the time. They're both really good teams. Obviously, the Bulls are the greatest team in NBA history.
Yeah.
The Hawks are legitimate Stanley Cup contenders for the majority of that decade. And they're just running the town. And, like, guys like Roenick and Chelios and Belfour especially, they were cut from we were just at a meeting saying how hockey players, like, they don't really emote. They don't talk very much. They're very much just kind of, it's all about the team all the time. And not to say that Roenick and Chelios and Belfour weren't team guys, but they had personality. They had charisma. Mm-hmm. They had a hook on this town.
Aura.
They did. They 100% did. Like, those guys were effing rock stars. And when you talk about the coolest era of Blackhawks hockey, maybe it's me, maybe it's my age, but those guys still, when I see Chelios and Roenick, I'm like, cool.
My introduction to hockey, honestly, was in 89, 90, and I was, at the time, my dad was building homes or whatever. I was living with my grandmother and my uncle. My Uncle Jay was a huge hockey fan.
Am I your uncle?
No, yeah, right? Wait, what?
Was that you?
Hold on a second. But he would get Hawks vision, right? And not everyone had Hawk vision. So him and 20 of his buddies, all the same haircut with the crumpled mane in the back.
Oh, yeah.
Just like anybody else on the team would come over, order a bunch of Little Caesars, drink MGD, and just watch the Hawks all night long. And I was I was inundated of, like, what is this? The Blackhawks in the early 90s were so cool. They were so deep. They had so many different personalities. It was the perfect way for me to kind of walk into what it meant to be a hockey fan.
I miss that. Like, in the age that we live in now, where you get all these different services, all these different ways to watch sports, watch events, all these things, you don't miss anything. You if you miss something, that's a you problem,
right?
Because with social media, with YouTube, all these you literally can't miss something. But what I miss of, like, that era was just, like, with not just sports, TV shows, like movies. If you didn't see it, when it was on
You just
or
missed
when it
it.
was in theaters or whatever, you just didn't see it.
Right.
Or you'd have to go to old school Sports Center and they would run the highlights, and that is how you got the information of what happened, who did what, and you would see the highlight. But then you'd have to say, "Oh, you would have people be like, "Can you tape the game for me? I'm going to be at a wedding or work or whatever." It wasn't like, "Oh, I'll just pull it up on my phone and I'm fine." Like so the atmosphere of like, "Hey, let's all come over to, Uncle Jay's house."
That's right.
And hang out and watch this regular season Hawks game and get beer and pizza. Like, I miss that for a regular season game.
Yeah.
To be like, I don't want to miss Friday night's game against the Kings or whatever.
It was every Friday night,
God, I
Mario.
miss
It'd be
that.
like 15, 20 people and their girlfriends all joking around watching hockey. It was
Never
the
too
best.
late to bring it back. Yeah. Anyway, we got to hit the break zone. I've got a good story about taping a game. I'll share when we come back on
Tape
CHGO
over your wedding?
Blackhawks. Almost.
Looking to buy, sell, trade, or rip open packs of cards? You got to check out our friends at Arena Club. They are changing the hobby with their transparent slab packs and no-fee auctions. You can get authentic, graded cards instantly on Arena Club and then decide what to do with them. You can hold on to them, sell them, or have the physical cards shipped directly to you, or you can take an instant cash offer based on fair market value. With those slab packs, you can rip open a pack for as low as $25 and hit on a card that's worth tens of thousands of dollars. They offer full transparency, showing you every card in the pack with the likelihood of pulling each one so you know what's there before you buy them. I love Arena Club since we've been using it. Haven't really been into cards since I was a kid, but with Arena Club, it's really cool to like finally open those packs and get those really good cards.
Yeah.
Like you always get those like cheapo ones at the store when I was a kid. With Arena Club, you're getting the best value. And you can get 20% off right now on your slab pack or card purchase, your first one, by going to arenaclub.com/CHGO and using the code CHGO.
And you know the moment when you realize you left your favorite sunglasses at the beach or on the roof of your car or at a gas station 3 states away. We've all had that moment, but then we found Shady Rays and it changed the game. These sunglasses are made for real life. They look great. They're polarized. They're durable. They're inexpensive. The weird thing is I put them on. I feel like I see better. I don't know if that's possible, but it seems to work that way with Shady Rays. The best part, if you lose or break your Shady Rays, even on the first day, they're going to send you a brand new pair. No guilt trip, just replacements. So now you can wear your sunglasses without fear wherever you are. Shady Rays is eyewear that has your back. We've teamed up with Shady Rays to bring you an exclusive offer. Head to shadyrays.com and use code CHGO for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 million, billion, trillion people. The date is October 1st, 1997. I'm a student at Lewis University, the Harvard of Romeoville. I'm heading down for my radio show that starts at around 6 and ends at around 10. I set my little crappy VCR in the TV thing, like the combo that everyone had in college in the 90s and 2000s.
It's a good combo.
Told my roommate, I am taping the Blackhawks game. Please do not tape over this. Please do not stop the recording. He's like, got it, no problem. Rush home. It's the opening game of the season. Hawks and Coyotes. Rush home. Get ready to put the game on. He goes, I don't know why you're going to watch that. They got their asses kicked. I have never been so pissed in my life. I'm like, I taped the game so I could watch it as if it was live, dude. I didn't want you to tell me what happened. He was correct. The Hawks lost 6-2 at Phoenix. Bob Probert with the lone goal for the Blackhawks, assisted by Michael Sikora. And, I'm sorry, 6-2. Yeah, so Bob Probert had one, and Sergei Krivo-Krasov had the other. A 2-point night for Bob Probert, though.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. For the Coyotes, Teppo Numminen, Bob Corkum, Dallas Drake, Norm McIver, and Jim McKenzie scoring goals.
So 97 was... No, Roenick wasn't on that Coyotes team yet.
Yes, he was. Yeah, he scored for the Coyotes.
Oh, right. He went to the Coyotes first and then the Flyers.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, I was real pissed about that.
Yeah. So,
I'm
okay,
justified
not to
in being
completely
pissed.
derail everything. When you had the VCR TV combo,
Yes.
did the TV have to be on to record it?
Yes, it did. That's how he knew they got their asses kicked.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So, yeah. Trying to explain, by the way, to my
crazy.
15-year-old daughter that there was a time where if you weren't home, you just missed it.
Yeah, you missed it. Yeah.
And there was a time that if you weren't home and someone needed to reach you, they just couldn't reach you.
Yeah. If you left the house, you were on your own. Or if you found a payphone, if you had a dime or a nickel, you could use the payphone if you found one.
Sometimes you'd go to a movie and it would be too packed and you couldn't go see it because they'd sell out of tickets.
They'd sell out of tickets.
Right. Yeah, a movie would sell out. And you couldn't order them ahead of time. You just had to show up and hope they were there.
You got to get there first.
And if you wanted to go to a concert, you had to wake up and go to Carson Peary Scott
Ticketmaster
and wait
Dominic's.
in line at Ticketmaster or call 559-1212 and wait on hold and hope you got an operator to sell you a ticket.
And if you
chaos.
If you wanted something that you saw on TV, you had to call the number now
Right.
to get the deal.
Or the idea of maybe do you even know about like talk lines? Like you would
where you
it'd
would
be like the celebrity phone line.
Yeah, like Miss Cleo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, that was different. It'd be like
Celebrity.
it'd be like call and talk to
She was
Hulk
a celebrity.
Hogan. It's $2.99 a minute, and you
yeah.
call like 1-800-Hulkster, and it would just be a recording of Hulk Hogan talking. And as a kid, you're just listening and listening and listening and listening.
Oh,
And it
sounds like me trying to get my
$2.99 a
power
minute.
back on.
Would you
Or
accept
they'd
my
also-
collect call?
They would also have like it's 99 cents for the first minute, and then like $3 for every minute after.
My final one is used
Those
to
weren't
be able to
900
go.
numbers, were they?
Well, sometimes.
My final one was used to be able to go to McDonald's and meet John Paxson and get him to sign a poster for you, which I had done many, many times.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Good times. That's
You know what,
that's
though?
an era that needs to come
Take
back.
me back.
Yeah.
You know, just the idea like, you know what, I'm not home. And when I get home, maybe you call me then. And that's just it.
I always say if technology just dead stopped in like 2008, I think we'd all be a lot better off.
Oh man, when I was
Because you'd still have computers, you'd have
Yeah,
cell phones,
yeah.
but they wouldn't all be smartphones. You wouldn't have this in your pocket. I'm holding up my laptop for those
Yeah.
listening. You wouldn't have that in your pocket at your fingertips 24/7. Like, you know, I remember in like high school and college, if you were like, if something happened, you were at a party or an event or whatever, and you took pictures, you'd have to take your physical camera home.
Yeah.
Upload the pictures onto your computer and then upload those pictures if you wanted to. You had a lot of fail-safes of, do I want this picture on the internet? You'd have to go through a couple different steps before they reached your MySpace or your Facebook page, but you'd have to go home and do it. You couldn't just snap, post, done. Like it,
How about
it was
taking the
completely
film
different.
or camera to the photo mats?
Yeah, yep.
1
hour photo.
One of the worst ideas they ever had in St. Lawrence history was putting a bunch of disposable cameras on all of our tables at prom.
That's a great idea.
Lots of people were
honestly.
just
Oh yeah, sure.
pulling forward their pants and snapping a photo and putting the camera back on the table. So whoever developed and picked up the photos just had a wide selection of tubed meats to choose from.
I think that would have been a fascinating job to have back in the 80s and 90s of photo developer.
What's
You
that
s-
Robin
you saw
Williams
it-
movie?
I think it's called 1 Hour Photo.
I think it's called,
Yeah.
it's 1 hour photo. And
It's like a horror movie.
Chilling.
And, yeah.
Chilling.
What you
He's
get,
a creep.
You see everyone's events that they went to,
Yeah.
vacations that they went to, fun that they had with the camera.
Because I think even
Yeah.
now, if you get photos developed at
Wink,
Walgreens
wink.
or whatever, it just is all computer done.
It's digital,
and no one
yeah.
really even looks at the photos.
Yeah, it's all. It's even. My
would've
wife will
been a
get
fun job.
physical pictures printed for like my daughter's birthday parties or events or stuff, whatever. And she'll just go from her phone to like Walgreens.com, load the photos to Walgreens, print out, and go pick them up. Like it's not even. They don't even develop anything. You know, you just go. It's a lot simpler, sure. But yeah, I think and anyways, Blackhawks hockey. Back to that.
Sure. Yeah.
So we're saying,
Scott,
you know-
I will never forgive you for ruining the Hawks home opener for me, or season opener.
So your era is the 90s. It's a good era.
I would say I started loving hockey in the 90s, and then I really got into it in like, honestly, my first year as what I would call myself a diehard Hawks fan was Jeremy Roenick's last year as a Hawk.
So 96.
Yeah, 96 was like really, really, really when I was like, I identify as a Blackhawks fan.
Yeah.
And, of course, horrible timing for me.
Sure.
As everything went to crap after that. But so dabbled in the mid to late 90s and then really got into it. I would say my prime era was the 2000s because I was out of college. I had a little bit of money to spend.
You go to games.
$8 with the student ID.
Yeah.
But if we're going by favorite eras, we haven't even talked about, and we didn't experience these, but the 60s and 70s, before Kane and Taves arrived, were, in many people's minds, the glory days. That's Hull, Makita, Palat, Glenn Hall, Keith Magnuson, Tony Esposito, Dennis Hull. That was a really strong era of hockey. The 60s, it was a .558 winning percentage. The 70s, .567. They obviously won the Stanley Cup in 1961.
Hawks, Bruins, Canadians, like they were the run of the NHL.
Yeah.
Even after expansion.
Yeah. So I think I think it depends on your age. I will always call my favorite era, despite the 3 Stanley Cups, it's the era I fell in love with the team. Roenick, Chelios, Belfour, Suter, like those guys to me are still the biggest stars in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think for me, you know, my introduction into hockey and the Blackhawks was that very end of the 90s into the 2000s. It started to really solidify around about 2002, 2003. They made that one lone playoff run in 2002 between basically the end of the Roenick, Chelios, Belfour era and the Kane and Taves era. But that was just like, oh, hey, they made the playoffs. Cool. Like I liked Eric Daze, Tony Amane at that time.
Steve Sullivan.
Steve Sullivan. And the other thing for me around that time was the video games. I had NHL do that. You know, from 2002 to 2023.
So you played Gretzky's 3-on-3 hockey. Remember that? That was
got it.
Sick.
N64.
Yeah.
I still have it.
I had that for N64. From 02 to 24, I've had every NHL game. Wow. And it's just like when I was at that age, that like hooked me in, and I'd even more. I'd play as the Hawks, and even though they weren't as fun to play with, I'd still play with them. But I'd also play with like the Avalanche. Like I loved Joe Sakic and Peter Forsberg at that time.
Yeah,
I loved Paul Correa. I loved the Lightning with Lecavalier and Saint Louis. Like those were so much fun to play with those teams as well. But then that time is when I got cemented into like, okay, the Blackhawks are my team. It was a little rough, but then as I got through high school, at the end of high school, that's when I would say, like, because it coincided with Kane, Taves, Keith, Seabrook, all those guys showing up, that's when it was just like you said, like, oh, I'm identifying as like, yeah, I'm into it.
This is me now.
That was that era for me.
Yeah, my question for you guys is, when we talk about the 60s Blackhawks and we talk about fandom, how important do you think it is to you guys personally, when it comes to your own personal fandom, when the generation before you, the uncles, the dads, the people that then they go, hey, you should have seen Hull play. So you should have seen Makita play. And then when you talk about Ernie Banks or whatever we have in Chicago sports, how important is it to you that previous generation tells you about that? Well, for you, Jay, to your daughter, that's the 90s Blackhawks, right?
Well, I mean, that's it. And I, just had that experience recently. My daughter's a big softball player, and she loves the Cubs. And to explain to her what Ryan Sandberg meant to me as a kid, to the city, what made him great. I think a lot of times, and we're guilty of this too, like when I'm a kid, they're showing me stuff in the 60s. I'm like, that's black and white. That's 100 years ago. I don't care about that. And she's looking at standard def, fuzzy, and it feels like a lifetime ago. And it is for some people, but like, it's important to understand that history. So, like for me, trying to explain the 85 Bears to somebody was like my uncle's explaining Hull and Makita to me.
Yeah.
And man, like even when the Hawks were winning 3 Stanley Cups, they would still talk about how great Bobby Hull was and how so much faster and his shot was so much harder. And it was just, every time he touched the puck, he would leave your seat. And I know time sensationalizes things that have happened historically in sports, and he hit a home run 700 feet, and it like, yeah, okay, sure. But the way they still talk about Bobby Hull specifically Hall and Stan Mikita, they're like kids again. And I think part of it too is they watch them as kids, so these guys are larger than life to them. That's like me with Walter Payton.
Yeah, you see that inner child kind of light up in them again.
Yeah, right.
Like with my dad, like that was him growing up. He grew up in Kenosha, in Wisconsin, right over the border. But it was WGN, so it was all those Cubs legends of the 60s, 70s, 80s, Hawks legends of that era. And like I mentioned before, like he would tell me about Keith Magnuson, like when I would go with him to like early Hawks games, like some of my first Hawks games that I went to, and they'd play the intro videos and stuff. He'd be like, oh, like when they would show like the old highlight pre-2010s Cups.
Yep.
That like those highlights were like what they would play and what they would be like, Blackhawks history, Mikita, Hall, all that stuff. And that was his era when he was a kid. And just recently, my grandpa passed away, and through the funeral and everything, talking with family members and stuff, they all know that I'm connected with the Blackhawks and Chicago and sports radio, podcasting, all that stuff. So their connection with me, and these are people in their 90s, right?
Yeah.
Their connection with me is talking about the Blackhawks of that era, the Mikitas, the Hall, everything. Me and my uncle, we were talking at the funeral for 15 minutes, and he was telling me these stories of, when him and my grandpa met Bobby Hall in the summer of, God, what year was that? What did they say? 67, I think. They met him like in the Wisconsin Dells at like a restaurant.
Yeah.
And they're like, we don't want to bother you, but this, and they tell this story. My uncle's got a Bobby Hall stick from the 60s.
Oh, cool.
That's like he was telling me, like, when they first started curving sticks, I got one of those from him that was, part of like a garage sale kind of thing. But he's got one of those like that. He's telling me these stories of him and my grandpa would come down to the Chicago Stadium, and they knew one of the police officers that did security at the Chicago Stadium, and they would bring this police officer. They got to know his name. They talked with him, all this stuff. They'd bring this police officer a bottle of brandy, and they'd go down to the game from Wisconsin, and they'd wave. They'd point to the trunk. The officer would wave them through. They would park in front of Chicago Stadium, where you weren't allowed to park, basically on Madison Street, and the cop would watch the car for him. Now, does that story open up questions of, was my family in the mafia or not? You be the judge. But it's
people helping
but
people.
It's those,
what are we
it's
talking
those
about?
stories that connect you to that area.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, my grandpa and my uncle in their 30s going to Hawks games. I can envision myself doing that with my family and my friends, and it's just like they're taking back 60 years to that era again, and it's just like, in 60 years, hopefully I'm here and can tell those stories to my great nephews or great grandparents or great grandkids or whatever.
It's and it's, as we talk about the changes from era to era, not just in hockey but in life, like it is more difficult to take your family and your kid to a game like on a whim.
Oh yeah.
If me and Addie were to go to a random Hawks game,
you'd go to game time.
We'd go to game time
And then find your tickets.
And save big time. But if game time didn't exist, God forbid, we're talking for the two of us to get into a Hawks game, decent seats, at least $150 walking in the door with parking,
at least
tickets, fees, not to mention any sort of food we're going to have, which we're going to have.
Oh, yeah.
Like and I know every generation complains about the prices of tickets and admission, and it goes up through time. I get that, but it just becomes a much more difficult thing to do. And I feel like maybe games now, the reason they're more produced and there's more activities before and after is because you're not able to go, unless you're a season ticket holder, to game after game after game. It needs to feel like more of an experience. Like, we went to this one game and it was best day ever, and I got to pet some puppies.
I got shot in the face with a T-shirt cannon, and
right,
yeah.
Like I got to do all this stuff, and then the game happened, and that was fun. But then there was all this stuff happening during the game, and it's just a different thing. Whereas back in the day, the event was the game. That was it. When the puck dropped to the final horn, that was the event.
And you
was it better?
You'd get some organ music.
Yeah,
as side entertainment.
It's old man corner today, man. Oof. Yeah.
Well, what do you expect when you theme a show around Taylor Swift for two people who are not her demographic?
Back in my day, we didn't have Taylor Swift.
Winterman63 has been active in the chat. We appreciate it. It says, I worked for Andy Frain in the late 70s. When I worked gate, we would search for liquor. No yellow jackets yet. I began skimming some when I found out that head ushers just kept it.
Yeah.
Now, for those that don't know, the Andy Frain was I guess security is that's probably correct. But they would be the ones that would take the tickets. They would get you seated. They would keep an eye on everything that was going on. And they wore yellow jackets to identify themselves at the game. Andy
kind of
Frain
like
was
an usher, but yeah.
An usher with a little more, well, it was also a different time.
Authority.
So an usher could bop you on the head and it wouldn't be a big deal back then.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I mean, it's crazy.
I love they use the word skim. That's an old school.
Skim.
Yeah.
That's a chill word.
Yeah, a little bit
Just
off
a little
the top.
skim off the top, a little
No
something
big
off the
deal.
top. No big deal.
No one's going to miss it. Well, yeah, I do miss the ease of going to games when I was younger. And, like, my dad passed away July 1st, and so much of my fandom came because he took me to games. And I remember, just when the West Loop was different.
Yeah.
Before it was completely gentrified, where you just would not stop at stop signs and you just keep going. And
it's probably why my uncle wanted to park right in front of the stadium.
Yes. And the walk from the parking lot to the stadium was scary and thrilling. And the whole idea of going to a Hawks game, especially at the stadium, had this element of danger and adventure to it.
Yeah.
And like this, I can still smell the Chicago Stadium, and I can still feel those emotions of. And look, I'm a white kid from the suburbs, and my life experience at that point is zero.
Small, yeah.
But just going to the city and seeing poverty and seeing that sort of thing was completely different for me. And it was just the whole experience of going to a game at Chicago Stadium or the early days of the UC was just all your senses were activated.
I remember going to a Bulls game that was the year after Jordan. So this would have been the 98, 99 year. And I remember going down, coming from Kenosha, quote unquote small town in Wisconsin. It's 100,000 people, but it feels like a small town, especially when I was 9 years old. But I remember like the event of coming down to Chicago and drive, the drive in and seeing the skyline and being like, okay, we're going into the city and we're going to the United Center and, just experiencing something completely different. Like, yeah, it's just, there is some of that like mystique of that experience as a kid that I can't speak from a kid's perspective now, but I feel like it would feel a little bit different now going to the United Center, coming into the city. It would feel a little bit different. And I know with the, 1901 project that's going on, it's going to completely feel different in 15 years once it's done. But yeah, I mean, it's just, it's interesting how kind of that perspective changes things, how technology can change things. It's how just things develop and evolve, and the atmosphere around, the United Center and everything. It's interesting. And I want to bring my daughter to, we brought her to a Hawks game 2 seasons ago. It was her first game. She was just 2 years old. Took her to Palace Grill. Like we brought her. She has. I don't know if she probably still fits in it. The like toddler Blackhawks jersey.
Yeah.
She had her little Tommy Hawk doll, and it's just like it's one of those things that you want to be able to like pass down and have the experience, and sports can be one of those things that is like a connector from generation to generation, whether it's grandparents, parents, kids, cousins. For what? I mean, how many times? Look at Holly, our diehard, and like she got into hockey, got into the Blackhawks organically over the last year and a half or so.
Yeah.
And has gotten her friends into it in the UK. Like it's just so incredible how sports can completely like take over part of your life, or it can, bring something out of you that you didn't know was there for you.
Yeah, it's also connection, and I think now more than ever because we are so divided, and it's divided by design. It's the one thing now where everyone comes together united and has like the similar, 20,000 Hawks fans or 40,000 Cub fans or 3,000 Sox fans, whatever it might be.
Right.
That was a cheap shot, I know. But like I always, whenever I'm at a Cubs versus Sox game and they start fighting, it's like, dudes, you were at a Hawks game together 3 months ago. What are we fighting over?
It's so pointless, dude. Like that's why I'm a Cubs and a Sox fan, because I don't have enemies that don't have. If Chicago's on the chest, you're not my enemy, man.
Fair enough.
And I get it. Yeah, at the end of the day, we're all Bears fans. We're all Hawks fans.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We're all
Yeah.
Bulls fans.
But it does unite, and I think while it looks different than it did when I was growing up as a kid, going to the stadium, it'll look different for our kids when they
Right.
take their kids to a game and
Right.
they're flying cars and stuff. It's going to be
Sure. Yeah.
it's going to be different then. And oh man, John F brings up there used to be a newsletter called the Blue Line that became the Committed Indian that Sam Fells wrote.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, it was called the Blue Line, and it was a punk rock newsletter of ripping the Wurtzes and ripping the other team and like top 10 lists. And it was, I think it was $5 outside the stadium every day.
Old school
It was like a
blogging.
bootleg program. And that was awesome. The Blue Line was so much fun. And later the Committed Indian and Faxes from Uncle Dale, they're still around doing their podcast too. But just like, you felt like a diehard fan when you got one of those. And as a kid, having the Blue Line was kind of like, oh, there's swear words in here. And there's like, it was a little bit edgy to have that.
Yeah.
But it was a kind of a badge of honor to have the Blue Line program. That's fun. See, for a mid-August show, I enjoy some nostalgia.
Yeah.
It was cool. And we got the SEO from Taylor Swift. Thank you, Taylor.
Sure. We kept the Taylor Swift mentions to a minimum so people don't yell at us online.
This is one of those shows that helps you remind you why you're a Blackhawks fan in the first place, is you get ready for hopefully a very fun and entertaining season.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I like when we do shows like this where, we had a structure and then it also just becomes a conversation.
Right.
Like I like when we do stuff like this, especially in the off season. Like we could do top 10 Hawks prospects. We could do.
We do that too.
We've done that. Yeah.
Right.
Hey, let's win-loss the regular season. All this stuff. But it just opening up, just kind of like talking about, just in a grand historical context of the Hawks. It's fun. It's a fun conversation. We didn't even get to
chat was awesome today too.
Yeah.
We've talked about the
Good
Mob.
stuff.
We've talked about Led Zeppelin. We've talked about the old stadium. I mean, we've
Good
covered
stuff.
some good ground. Good job of the chat.
We didn't
today.
even get to the Patrick Kane and
I know.
Evgeny Malkin.
we can hold. We got to hold that for tomorrow.
Well, you and Greg can have that conversation.
Oh, that's right.
tomorrow.
All right, we'll wait for you. We'll wait for you
That's
to have the
fine.
conversation.
You guys can have that conversation.
Me and Greg are going to talk about old stuff.
Even more history. I'll give my quick 2 cents on that conversation so you guys can have it in more depth.
There you go.
Patrick Kane, better career.
Yeah, I mean the numbers are they lean Malkin, but
The numbers are essentially identical. Joe, if you want to throw that up real quick. So this was from Sportsnet, who had the better career, Evgeny Malkin or Patrick Kane. Their games played and goals are almost identical. They've each been an MVP. They've each won a Conn Smythe. They've each won 3 Stanley Cups. I think, does Malkin have 2 MVPs? I think Malkin's got 2 MVPs. They've led the league in scoring. My justification is Evgeny Malkin never was considered the best on his team because Crosby was there. Is that fair or not? I don't care. Patrick Kane, many times, depending on who you talk to, is considered the best Blackhawk of the time that he was on those teams. Over Taze, over Keith, over Hossa, all that stuff. Malkin, I don't think you would ever say he was the best on his team over Sidney Crosby. So that's my justification for it. And
My
if you don't like
justification
it,
is I like the Blackhawks more than the Penguins.
argue with the wall. Yeah, the only time I like the Penguins is when Phil Kessel was on the team.
Fair enough. Today's the anniversary of the hot dogs in the cup, by the way.
That's why he's my king.
He is the greatest.
That's the only king I recognize.
All right.
Phil Kessel.
We're going to wrap things up. As Mario mentioned, Greg will be in tomorrow's show. We will be remote, but we will be live, so make sure you join us tomorrow at 2. If you've not hit that like button for us, please do so right now. And we'll talk to you Friday at 2 o'clock right here on the CHGO Blackhawks
Sign Wyatt
podcast.
Kaiser.